Okay, we're coming at you live, uncut, uncensored, here with Bears. We want to address the issue of the uh, is this a bad era for heavyweight boxing, or the Klitschkos just that good? Well, folks, I'm here to tell you, the Klitschkos are just that good. You're talking about Vitaly Klitschko coming in with a 92% KO ratio in his wins. Vladimir Klitschko coming in with almost a 90% KO ratio. And then he comes in at 88. These guys are KO artists. They just knock everybody out, and they got some of the most dominating games we've ever seen in heavyweight boxing. Some posters would have you think taking a punch is greatness. Like Holyfield, he took a great punch. Yeah, he did take a great punch, but does that equate to greatness? Does that mean it's great? No. Getting your jaw jacked and being good at getting your jaw jacked or blocking punches with your face, that doesn't mean you're great. Greatness is in this game. This game is about not getting hitting people and knocking them out. And in that category, Klitschko's trumped them guys. And if they fought each other, I gotta give the nod to the big guys. I gotta say, Lennox Lewis and the Klitschkos would probably be favored against any of the greats right now. So they're just that dominant. I mean, we got super heavyweights. We didn't have that in the 60s, 70s, and before, even in the 80s. So Mike Tyson even agrees. You talk about a little guy who had some brutal knockouts, yeah, but then he got exposed by a sea-level fighter, Buster Douglas, and was never the same. To be able to say you're great because you beat Mike Tyson is Buster Douglas a great? Then I would say Holyfield, he's not that great, and he doesn't make my top 10 greatest heavyweights. So is the era weak? No, I don't think the era is weak. I think you'd see more shining contenders if they fought each other. They haven't been fighting each other because this era has become all about Klitschkos, fighting the Klitschkos, and they're getting to guys before they get a lot of seasoning. Guys are climbing up in ranks and they're chewing up all the contenders, so they're getting to guys with 30 some odd fights. Well, that's not a lot of seasoning. David Haye didn't have a lot of seasoning, and he didn't have hardly any seasoning at the heavyweight level. What do you have? 4 fights with 38 and 39-year-old washed up people. David Haye's got a lot of talent, potential, and skill, but unfortunately no seasoning to back it up. He's not just coming in with raw talent that's going to get him through, because raw talent's just not going to get you through in this boxing game with superior boxers like the Klitschkos. They're just too good. They're going to dominate you. They've been dominating. And, I don't think you can knock this era down because they can't sit there and compete with the Klitschkos. The Klitschkos are that great. Now, all the greats, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Norton, Holmes, they're all going to struggle. They're all going to struggle against the Klitschkos. The Klitschkos are going to dominate range. They're going to dominate the CompuBox numbers like they always do. I mean, they raised the bar in the CompuBox numbers area. Nobody's going to really hang with them on that. Nobody has hung with them on that until people are starting to creep up into their, like Areola now in the CompuBox numbers issue. So you got to favor them. You got to favor the Klitschkos not only against the greats, but obviously against the contenders of this era. So they're going to make the contenders of this era look outclassed, based on the fact that they're probably going to smoke all the greats too in the past. So you can't really knock this era's contenders for the simple fact that even the greats would struggle to defeat the Klitschkos. So what can you really expect from the contenders? This is really just a Klitschko era, and I don't think you can knock it in any way. I don't think we'll ever see something like this happen again, and I think fans should appreciate these guys knocking everybody out, because you should remember in the 90s, all the draws, all the decisions, the boring fights I sat through watching Lennox Lewis go to decisions, and it's like, you couldn't tell. If you watch Ray Mercer and Lennox Lewis fight now, I mean, you tell me what's the best shot landed in that fight. To me that fight was a draw. And who wants to leave things up in the air like that, especially fight draw fights. The Klitschkos don't do that. And in this era, more of the contenders are knocking everybody out. They're not leaving any question mark. You got the Heleniuses, the Areolas, the Povetkins, the Boystavs, even Chagev. Corey Sanders was even knocking all kinds of people out in the first round. You got all these guys, Lehman Brewster, relentless Lehman Brewster. These guys score the knockouts, and that's good. It's good for boxing. It's good for heavyweight boxing. That's what we expect. That's what I expect, and that's what I want to see, some knockouts at this level. So I'm not dismayed by at all with this era, and I wouldn't knock it. I've seen this derogatory aim on the Klitschkos morphed since the early 2000s from all kinds of different angles to now all they can really say is, well, we can't knock the Klitschkos, let's knock the era. Come on, dude. You need to dismiss this Klitschko bashing for what it is, and that's Klitschko bashing, and sometimes even all-out hate. You know, some people have this preconceived notion of what the champ is supposed to look like or supposed to be or where he's supposed to be from. Well, you know, it's a global sport now. It's a global phenomenon. And then this weak era argument, you know, people say, even Emmanuel Stewart has been quoted as saying, you know, oh, I think they're going into other sports, football, basketball, whatnot. That's the worst. That's the weakest, worst argument I've ever heard for that the era's weak, because in America, very few athletes go from college to pro. The percentage is just so small. We have all kinds of athletes that aren't in pro anything, and then you add in the fact that boxing is a global sport and is dominated a lot by non-American citizens right now. They're not going into football. They're not going into American basketball. So that argument's just not even. It has no merit. There's no merit to athletes are going into different sports, and that's why the era's weak. You know, you come out of college at 23, 24 years old. You know if you're going pro or not. You can set your sights on boxing, and by 30, 31, be in your peak. So, no, I gotta say that dismissing the era, saying that people are going to other sports, it's just all baseless. It's just baseless. You don't have any merit on that argument. So really, I think the Klitschko bashing should stop. I think people should appreciate these guys while they're around. Vitaly's probably got maybe 1, 2, 3 more fights in him, or maybe he'll just fight until someone can beat him. Then that guy's a phenom, you know, coming out of a 4-year layoff to come and dominate the cream of the crop at the heavyweight division was just phenomenal. The guy's phenomenal. You know, these guys are already Hall of Famers. The only debate now is the GOAT. And that is debatable. I'm going to give the nod to the big guys myself. And who of those guys gets the GOAT status out of Lennox and the Klitschkos? You know, I don't know. You know, right now, I think it's between Lennox Lewis and Vitaly Klitschko for the GOAT status. Because Lennox was able to control many facets of the game, but those same facets of the game, Vitaly came up and fought Lennox and controlled himself against Lennox, and suffered a cut, an injury. Vitaly only ever lost on injuries. He lost 2 fights, both on injury, both in fights he was dominating, or at least dominating on the cards, CompuBox numbers, you know, ring generalship, range, power shots, every facet of the fights, every facet of the fight he's ever been in, he's been winning, even on the fights he lost. So, you know, I think I'm going to give the nod to Vitaly Klitschko over Lennox Lewis. You know, Lennox got to avenge his losses, promised to avenge his losses to Vitaly Klitschko, and fell through. You know, at least Rockman and McCall let him avenge his losses. I think Lennox should have had that same courtesy for Vitaly Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko, I think he could come on by the end of his career with his record defenses by knockout. He's definitely got some of the most stunning punches we've ever seen historically in the heavyweight division of every single fighter. His jab is up there with the best ever with Muhammad Ali. His left hook is powerhouse. It's just unreal good. And one-punch stopping power in both hands. That left hook is stunning like a howitzer artillery round. His left jab is like a 50 cal sniper round. And that straight right, come on, it's a nuclear bomb. That straight right's the best straight right we've ever seen in heavyweight boxing. So, you know, Vladimir Klitschko, you know, he's gonna be banging with anybody. His footwork and his hand speed and his foot speed, unreal. You can see him as he slips in with David Haye, clocks David Haye, and slips out when David Haye tries to counter. The guy's foot speed and hand speed is ridiculously good for Vladimir Klitschko. Vitaly Klitschko, you're talking about the granite jaw, the best jaw we've ever seen, taking the best blows from the super heavyweight Lennox Lewis and not getting wobbled. That said, the fact that should Lennox Lewis fight Vitaly Klitschko in their primes, we've seen in Vitaly Klitschko's career, the only way to beat him is if he gets injured. You don't beat him on points. Lennox couldn't beat him on points. You know, even Angelo Dundee said, you know, Klitschko was on his way to beating Lennox Lewis if he had a couple more rounds or if there was never a cut. So, you know, a lot of people give Klitschko their props, but some other people just they have a different preconception of what the champion is supposed to be like. But I don't think there should be any mistake here. The Klitschkos are dominant champions in any era, and you really can't knock the current crop of contenders for not beating them when every great in the past would have a hard time banging with the Klitschkos.